And we are back. Welcome back to another episode of the Press Cincinnati Sports Fan Podcast. I'm Jesse. That's Tommy. We're going to recap the Bengals' victory number 2 over the New York Giants last Sunday night. It's a game where it was ugly, but as a Cincinnati sports fan, we'll take any win as much as possible just because the Bengals are they haven't really hit their stride yet in 2024. Maybe this could be the start, but I just want to take it one game at a time, as Joe Burrow always says. So we'll recap that, and then we'll talk about the Cleveland Browns, a team that the Bengals, for some reason, in the Joe Burrow era, cannot beat, especially in Cleveland. So we'll get into that. Tommy, as always, how you doing, my guy?
Good to see you. We're doing a little night podcast edition this time, so I know it's later for you than it is for me, but going well. It's cold now. There was wind chill of like 35 degrees today, and it was like it's been kind of gross weather-wise today, but hopefully it's better where you are.
Okay, it started off cloudy, and then all of a sudden around like 5, 6, it started hailing, and then the sun came out, and then I went for my run, and it's like windy and cold. Maybe that's why I'm a little tired, because of the weather change, and just like it went from being overcast to being just like a storm, and then now it's sunny, and now it's dark as hell, because now it's going to be getting dark real early now, and I hate that. I hate that about wintertime. It's just like pitch dark at 5 p.m. Not the best. All right, so opening thoughts of from this game on Sunday night. Me and you had a feeling that it wasn't going to be like a shootout type of game. Like, we predicted that there will be points, but towards like 10 minutes before kickoff, I was like, you know what? The Giants' defensive line is very underappreciated, and I was afraid of Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence. I ain't gonna call him Sexy Dexy, which I just did, but I don't know why Chris Collinsworth, the way he said it in the broadcast, like, you're a grown-ass man and you're saying that guy's name like that for his nickname. I was like, okay, whatever. Anyways, I just had a feeling that the Bengals' offensive line was gonna be up for a challenge against that defensive line, and boy, did it ever. I'm happy that the defense played well. 7 points allowing in a football game. That's great. I'm happy for Lou. This was his homecoming. He's from Staten Island. He had a bunch of family members in the game. BJ Hill got drafted with the Giants, so he had a lot of motivation coming into this football game. The defense as a whole, they've been getting ragged on by Bengals fans, us too, the media, of how trash they've been over the last 3 games, and well-deservedly so. So they took that to heart. So they had a lot of motivations heading into this football game. So I'm glad they showed up. But the offense was not the best. And me and you both said at the podcast last week that it's not going to be sustainable for the Bengals offense to be scoring 30-plus points every single game. They're capable of scoring 30 points, but they can't do it every single game. Eventually, Lou Anarumo's defense was going to have a game where they're going to play well, and the Bengals offense was going to be mid-average, but I didn't expect them to be they weren't good in spots during this football game. I'm happy with the victory. Don't get me wrong, I'll take any win, but is it okay that I can be like unimpressed? Like, I'm impressed by the defense. I know people are saying, well, the Giants didn't have Malik Neighbors. They didn't have Devil Singletary. And it's like, I don't care. This is the same Giants team that scored 29 points in Seattle a week before without Neighbors and Singletary. So I don't want to hear it. So 7 points allowed at their place, that's still impressive. But I'm just like, this is still not a good football team right now when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals. You just got to take it week by week. That's pretty much my opening thoughts. It's like, I'm glad they won, but it's like, there's still lots of shit they got to work on.
No, you're completely right. I wrote down the exact same quote that you just said. I wrote down, this is not a good football team right now. And it doesn't mean that I don't think we can be. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that we don't have the pieces in a lot of areas to become one. Mm-hmm. But right now, we're certainly not. You could tell how upset and pissed off, frankly, that Joe Burrow was after this game. Just that. And sometimes in the NFL, you do have to be able to win ugly games, because very rarely. It felt like there were several of them this week that were blowouts in other games, but that's not the norm. And you're gonna win most games by within one score. It's just like how this league works typically. And so sometimes you do have to win ugly, and you have to win when you're playing a C minus, C plus kind of game, and you just don't really have it, and you can't figure out why necessarily, and we can't make the adjustments enough to make it happen. But the part that kind of stood out to me the most about watching this one was, yes, it's great to get the win. It's great to get a primetime win, and after what happened to the Commanders, and yeah, only allowed 7 points, and they did miss 2 field goals, so it could have been 13, but even 13 I'd be very happy with based on what we've seen in recent weeks. But the inconsistency right now and the lack of cohesion between offense and defense, and the inconsistency week to week are the parts that are scaring me the most about us being able to turn the ship around truly. Because right now it feels like I don't think we've had a game where both the offense and the defense played really well on the same day. And I also feel like we've basically flip-flopped every week almost on if we are going to play well on defense or offense. Like, the Patriots, again, not a good team, score 16? Yeah. Giants only score 7. And then the Chiefs, honestly, I think it was 24, like low, not terrible, I guess.
Game.
Then, yeah, but then we were allowing 35 plus 3 weeks in a row. Yeah. And then we come out and only allow 7. And I get that the Giants are not an awesome offense by any means, but Daniel Jones is not doing as badly as people are making it seem. I just feel like we need to figure out the consistency and the cohesion, because we need to be able to play on both sides of the ball together on the same day and play complementary with one another. And then we also need to show up, and I don't think we'll necessarily do this very well, but because this involves being a very well coached team, but we need to be prepared to show up to look like ourselves every week. We can't be looking like the Bengals last week and then looking like some terrible offense team this week. And yeah, the Giants have a good defensive line, and they were putting pressure the entire livelong day while I was watching this game. But outside of the defensive line, they don't have crazy corners and stuff like that. It's not like their entire defense is so loaded. So we just need to be able to figure that out. And I don't know. Dan Orlovsky came on Get Up and said that he thinks we're going to win our next 4 games straight and end the season 11-6. So I'm not ready to buy into that hype. I think we have a lot of work to do and a lot of self-reflection and figuring out to do before we're anywhere near even being above a 500 team, truthfully.
Right.
And I would be a little bit worried about getting to the playoffs right now and the caliber of team we'd be playing in the playoffs, and if we'd be able to hang with them, if our defense could hold their own. But, we did get a classic Zach Taylor halftime interview, and gotta be better. So
rhythm.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's basically my thoughts. It's just like, yes, great, we got the win. It was an ugly win. I'm happy we got the win, so we didn't just embarrass ourselves on national television. Mm-hmm. But it exposed a lot of things that I think if we want any chance of either making it to the playoffs or doing anything in the playoffs, if we did manage to get there, we have a lot of self-reflection to be done before we're anywhere near that team.
I just don't think they're there yet. And maybe the run happens, but it just comes down to coaching, man. It comes down to coaching. And we already talked about Zach Taylor, and I'm not going to go through this again. You guys can check out the podcast where we did go in on that man. I'm not going to do that. But seriously, it is. It really is coaching. It's like sometimes I feel like he doesn't let his players just like do his thing, especially on the offensive side. But we'll talk about the offense shortly. Let's talk about the defense in this football game. Before the Giants game you talked about, defense allowed 98 points in the last 3 games before the Giants game on Sunday Night Football. 98 points. They allowed 7. there was a crazy stat. It was the first time the Bengals defense allowed 10 or less points in a football game. Is it? No. 10 or less points for the first time in 75 games. So for the last 75 games before this game on Sunday night, they allowed 10 plus points. So they finally held a team under. I think they were playing, I think it was the Jets in 2019, Zach Taylor's first year.
I was going to say, that's basically 5 seasons worth of games.
Damn. I mean, that's why it's impressive what the defense did. 7 points in a football game, that's impressive. And then the thing that with Lou Rimmer's defense, before the streak they've been, before the Sunday Night Football, just playing awful defense. Between 2022 and 2023, we can put in the Super Bowl run year as well. They always get the key turnovers in the red zone. And usually that occurs with like Logan Wilson. This time it was Jermaine Pratt. And that was the Giants' second offensive drive of the game, where they were driving the football. It looked like they were going to score. And then BJ Hill, who had one hell of a game, got pressure, got in Daniel Jones' face. And then Daniel Jones just threw the ball up in the air. And then it landed in the hands of Jermaine Pratt. And I'm like, that's the Daniel Jones I know. But I was like, that's the Bengals defense I remember when they were actually a really solid unit, creating turnovers in the most optimist time. That's not a word, but you know what I mean. Getting that key turnover, because I really thought the Giants were going to score. And I'm like, okay, the defense is probably going to lay down. But they didn't. They needed that turnover. So Jermaine Pratt always coming up with clutch plays in the red zone. It just seems like in his career as a Cincinnati Bengal. And BJ Hill was incredible in this football game. 7 tackles, 2 quarterback hits. He was the 4th highest graded Bengal according to Pro Football Focus with a grade of 79.8. Every time you hear his name, like it was Mike Tirico saying BJ Hill on a play, it's just he made a difference. He made a difference. I know the Ravens game they allowed 41 points, but he was still out there. I thought he played decent in that football game. So not having him before the Baltimore Ravens game, I think he just made an impact on the Bengals defensive line in general. I thought Sam Hubbard played way better than he did against the Ravens in the second half. So I think now with the Bengals defensive line slowly but surely getting healthy, we didn't really hear Miles Murphy or Joseph Ossai's names. That's bad because they didn't play well. But slowly but surely they're getting healthy in the defensive line. I think that now BJ Hill and Sam Hubbard have like their rotations, and now they're getting back into their comfortability. And I think that's going to help them perform really well. And Chris Jenkins, that man needs to be starting every single game from here on out. That's why I love that pick the Bengals did in the NFL draft this year. He's good. He's good. He's going to be a great player for the Bengals. So I'm glad that he's getting the reps that he needs. Also, the return of Mike Hilton was big in this football game because the Bengals did miss some against the Ravens. He had 5 tackles in this football game, 1 quarterback hit. He was the highest graded Bengal overall in this football game, 82.8. Mike Hilton, he's known for just tackling below the knees and just getting it played. Even he's 5'11", but he plays like he's like 6'3". Like he hits hard. And I think he provides that veteran leadership. Like he was talking with the media last week, and they had like a closed team, what do we call it, players meeting after the Ravens game. And pretty much he told the media, yeah, we played like shit. Not against Baltimore, but the last 3 games. I'm like, yeah, Mike, no shit. So maybe having that veteran presence like a Mike Hilton, who's been there, who's won before, I think having it out there in the football field on Sunday really helped the team. And also, Jordan Battle played. He got to play. He played 14 snaps, got 3 tackles, 2 defensive stops, and a grade of 73.7. I really hope this is a start for him where he's going to play consistently. No disrespect to Von Bell, but my guy needs to be in the sidelines with Lou Anarumo and with a clipboard. No disrespect. I'm just saying, he's washed. He should not be playing out there. I get it. You brought him back. Yay, reunion. He's going to teach the youngies. Sure, do that on the sideline and let Jordan Battle play. Because I saw on Sunday night where the way Jordan Battle played is where he played last year in the second half of the season. He played really good. He's one of the better safeties in the league as a rookie. So Well done, Jordan Battle. And Cam Taylor-Britt. Listen, we've dogged Cam over the last 3 weeks, but he was not bad on Sunday night. He was targeted 9 times on 50 coverage snaps, allowed 5 catches for 43 yards, 7 tackles, 2 defensive stops, 1 pass breakup. Longest catch allowed was 15 yards. I mean, before this game, he was allowing 50 plus yards and just getting absolutely toasted. So small improvements from the previous weeks by CTB. So let's just hope that he just continues to gain confidence. He didn't really do the seatbelt thing, so I think he's slowly but surely just trying to be more humbled. He knows he can play better, and we know that as well too. So, and then Trey Hendrickson's a menace, man. He destroyed Giants lineman Andrew Thomas. 24 pass rushing snaps, 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. That man, up to 5 sacks this year so far. He is so underrated, and I think he is also underappreciated. I want to re-sign Trey, but they're not going to. And I get why he wanted a trade, because he wants more money. He is valuable to that defensive line. He's the only person that can get to the damn quarterback. It's just, yeah, even Mike Tirico and Chris Collins was like, man, Trey Hendrickson's a monster. And I bet people that are watching the Bengals for the first time on Sunday night, they're like, damn, that Trey Hendrickson guy is a dog. I'm like, yeah, we've been knowing that. It's just the Bengals. That's pretty much it when it comes to who can get to the quarterback. It's just Trey. But I'm glad Trey had a really good game. And then the 2 fourth down stops. I mean, Brian Doyle, Giants head coach, he was just like, you know what, fuck it. We're going for it every single time. If it's 4th and 2, 4th and 3, he was like, no, we're going for it. Shoot, we want to win this football game. But the 2 fourth down stops, Mike Hilton, when he batted the ball down from Wan'Dale Robinson, and then DJ Turner's big pass breakup. I thought DJ Turner played a really good football game, and I'm excited to see, his trajectory and his progress throughout the season. But those 2 fourth down stops between Hilton and DJ Turner were really, really big in this football game. I really hope that Zach Taylor took notes from Brian Doyle on how to trust your quarterback, because the fact that he trusts Daniel Jones more than Zach Taylor trusts Joe Burrow when it comes to getting a few yards to, have your kicker have a manageable, easy field goal attempt. Come on, Zach, really? You're going to have that coach trust him more than you trust number 9? Okay. But overall, shout out to Lou Rimmer as well. I said that in the beginning of the podcast, but he deserves kudos. He's been getting a lot of flack, but I think it's not only Lou that has been part of the blame for the Bengals defense. He's doing his best, but you saw a really good football game, a really good defensive game plan from him. So let's just hope that the defense can this will be like a measuring stick where they can gain some confidence, because they're going to need them. Because if we're going to see another performance like against the Commanders and the Ravens and the Panthers, I know they only allowed 24 points, but still they were still getting gas on the run. If we see that again during the season, then oh boy, we might have to have some conversations when it comes to everyone in the defense. But nope, for the first time in a month, we're praising the defense. So well done, guys. What do you got to say?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think that you and I were very, deservedly so giving the criticism out. And so we'll also, give people flowers when they deserve it too, which I feel like the defense deserves a lot of this time around. You're right. CTB played a really great game. 15 yards as his longest completion allowed is probably his best of the year, if I was guessing. And because I feel like at least once a game, he's, running behind somebody on a 30-yarder or something like that. So I feel like he played a lot better.
Yeah.
The young guys played well, like you said, DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, Chris Jenkins. I also love Chris Jenkins and feel like he is a major building block for what we're going to do on this defensive line moving forward. And so big fan of that. Happy to see BJ Hill back out there, and he was wreaking havoc just as much as anybody out there. Trey Hendrickson, 2 sacks, like you mentioned, doing his normal thing. They kept commenting on the broadcast about how they were going to just let Andrew Thomas go one-on-one against Trey Hendrickson, which I just feel like is a mistake. I mean, clearly, he got 2 sacks, but he's the only one on our team that can get even remotely near the quarterback, it feels like, for 98 to 99% of any game anyways. So I I can't fathom why the game plan against us wouldn't just be to double him every time.
Right.
Because great run stopper, but Sam Hubbard's not getting there very often. So if they want to take a one-on-one Sam Hubbard, I think they can allow that. And something that's been a staple of the Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt tandem era, and mostly of the Lou Anarumo era, they've been about the same time anyways, is having ball hawking linebackers. And, BJ Hill got that hit, and Daniel Jones is not as bad as I feel like he gets a lot of flack for, but sometimes he does make some decisions where, like, he shouldn't have even attempted to throw that. Like, he didn't even start trying to throw it until he was already getting hit, and like he should have just taken the sack. They were in field goal range, but whatever. He tossed it up. But the good thing, the praise that I'll give our defense on that one is we got pressure to him and we forced those kind of plays rather than just relying on the teams and the other quarterbacks to make poor decisions. We forced the poor decision and we didn't squander the opportunity. When the ball is wide open, just flying in the air like that, you have to come down with the picks. It has to be a turnover. They did their job.
I was afraid.
Yeah. No, same. I was like, somehow Isaiah Likely is going to come out of nowhere and start playing for the Giants and find this ball, but I'm glad that didn't happen, and I'm just glad we got the pick on that one. Red zone turnovers and being stout on fourth downs is something that has been the Lou Anarumo calling card, and I'm glad that we were getting back more towards that style of defense, keeping the score low and allowing a lot of yards, allowing these long drives, but trying to find ways to get turnovers at the right moments. And this was a textbook game from that end. And like I said, they missed 2 field goals, so if I was Brian Daboll, I'd also be going for it on fourth down every time. But even with that, I think that 7 points, 13 points, either way, even if it did end up being 13 points, that's a really good defensive game. And the first time in 5 seasons that we've been able to hold someone to less than 10 points doesn't matter who you're playing. Holding a team in the NFL to less than 10 points means that your defense had a really solid day and did what needed to be done. And while I would have loved for our offense to have put up 30 and we won this game and could basically shut it out at the end of the third quarter, that just is not going to be what we do as a team, I don't think. It's just not what we do. But we did a good job on those fourth down defenses. They made it very clear very early on, even when they were on their own side of the field, that they were going to go for it every time. Mike Hilton made a great play. I think you said it was Jordan Battle who maybe stopped the other one.
Turner.
Yeah. And so we did what we needed to do on fourth down, and they played really well. I'm going to give them that. The only critique, I guess, that I have mostly is just that, one, the same thing that we've been saying for a little bit. It really just feels like Trey Hendrickson's the only one that can get pressures. We need to find a way for someone besides him to get pressures because it's just not sustainable, especially when we get, into closer to the playoffs. I don't even know if we're going to get there, so I don't want to talk playoffs yet. But because we're a ways away from there as a team, but we have some identity finding to do. But we're going to need Trey Hendrickson, to keep playing well, but we need other people to try to help out too. And the other critique, I feel like I don't have the stats on this one to back this up, but I feel like just having watched this team this year that we have to be allowing the most 10 plus play scoring drives. It seems like every week I'm watching just people march up and down all day long. And yeah, a lot of times it might end in a turnover or a field goal, but I feel like we're so rarely forcing punts. We got a couple turnover on downs this game because of fourth down conversions, but it just feels like we're not really forcing punts all that often. And it feels like, just anecdotally watching it, that they're just every play is just drive after drive or play after play, third down conversion after third down conversion. And we can't get off the field sometimes, which is, again, just something that we need to figure out, or it's going to continue to look like, 35 points a game allowed if we don't. But I don't know. Maybe we picked something out of this week and we have a better plan going forward to make it look like how we play the Giants more often than not. And they, I don't even have much else besides that. There are guys that I would like to see step up more. You mentioned Joseph Osai, Miles Murphy, guys that you just like to see fill in that role for helping out Trey Hendrickson get more pressures. And I feel like we have enough data at this point for how long Joseph Osai has been on the team that I don't think he's that guy. I think he's okay. He's good for a depth position. He's not a scrub, but he got drafted in the same draft as Joe Burrow, so it's not like he hasn't had his opportunities for it. So, like to see a little bit better out of him if we can coach it into him, and then would love to see some Miles Turner potential on the field. But that's pretty much it. Felt like they played a pretty good game and want to give them credit where it's due, because I don't know how often we're going to have amazing defensive games like that. So I will take them when we get them.
Oh, for sure. Like Sheldon Rankins he had a spin move I saw, and I was like, oh, he did that when he was with Houston. So McKinley Jackson, their third round pick from A&M, he played a little bit and showed some flashes. So I want to say there's hope, but it's like maybe that they can be better at stopping the run, because I just don't think they can get to the quarterback other than Trey. But the fact that they're getting healthy in the defensive line, then they weren't healthy in the beginning of the season, that just gives me hope that, okay, maybe they can hopefully try to get to the quarterback, whatever Luke can do. I mean, he's dealt with the cards. He just got to just figure it out. He's smart, but yeah, teams are they're basically going to be like, okay, we're just going to double Trey, and then we're going to let Sam Hubbard and Miles Murphy and Joseph Osai or Chris Jenkins Jr. or Sheldon Rankins, you guys get to our quarterback. Pretty sure they're going to be like, okay, we're in good hands.
Yeah.
I just really hope some of the players step up. I really do. But this is a podcast where we're giving the defense their flowers because they deserve it. Now, the offense. Yeesh. Now, the first drive was good. I knew Joe Burrow had legs. He can run. But I think the whole country saw what that man can do. 3rd and 18. Me and you, I think you texted me this. Why were the Giants blitzing? I had no idea. 3rd and 18? You guys were that scared? Okay, so here's what happened. Joe Burrow shotgun. Giants are coming with, I think it was a 3-man rush. And Joe's like, okay, I'm going to take off. Green grass. I was like, okay, kept going. I'm like, oh, this man could go to the end zone. And then you see 2 Giants. Here comes one Giants defender. Here comes another. And Joe just dives to the end zone and then flexes. That was amazing. That man topped the speed at 19.86 miles per hour on that run. That's crazy. And Next Gen Stats said that the expected rush yards was 10 yards. Rushing yards over expected was plus 37. And then touchdown probability, 0.3%. So no one thought that Joe Burrow was going to go 47 yards to the crib on 3rd and 18 in the middle of the football field in the Bengals opening drive. That was crazy. I was like, okay, that was good. And I think the Giants defense was a little stupid in their call right there to blitz. But hey, credit Joe Burrow for being a smart quarterback and realizing, oh shit, there's green grass on the right side. I'm going to take that and just run and trust my wheels. After that, the offense pretty much went on dead mode. So they went 3 and out, 7 plays, punt, 3 and out, 3 and out, in the first half. Second half, defense gets a turnover on downs. Offense set up in perfect field position from the 38. 3 plays later, Zach Moss fumbled the ball in the red zone. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then the Bengals finally get a solid drive going after that. 9 plays, 51 yards, took 5 minutes and 7 seconds off the clock. It ended in the field goal, but Chase Brown had a touchdown, but it was nullified because of a questionable holding by Cordell Volson. I saw the play and I was like, there's no way. Now I was talking to my guy Terry on Monday. He said that's a penalty. He would have threw the flag. I'm like, okay, I know you're trying to protect your boys, but honestly, that was a weak ass call. I thought that was weak. That's just my opinion. And he's like, well, Mupati, you don't really know anything about officiating. Okay, but I know you're trying to protect your boys, but I'm just gonna say it at that because I don't want to try to get him in trouble. Okay, so after that, Bengals kick the field goal. They're up 10-7. 5 plays for the offense, punt. And then defense gets turnover on downs. And then the offense goes 5 plays, 64 yards, 1 minute and 9 seconds off the clock. This was the fourth quarter drive where before the 3rd and 12, when Joe found Yoshi for that big 29-yard reception, Zach Taylor went into the Ravens game in overtime. This guy called 2 running plays and got -2 yards. Tommy, I was like this close to throwing the damn remote on the TV. I'm like, Zach, you're going to do this again for the 2nd straight week? You're being conservative again? But Joe Burrow and Joe Magic on 3rd and 12, rolling out, throws it on the run, throws a dot to Andre Yoshibas. Andre Yoshibas just knows how to just drag the 2 feet. Perfect throw, perfect catch, 29 yards. Big play right there. And then after that play, Chase Brown gets the ball. He runs it, gets good yards, and then he fumbles it. But thankfully, he bats the ball out of bounds before the 2 Giants defenders had a shot at the ball. And I was like, oh my God, Chase, you don't, oh no. I was like, this is how it's going to end, really? But thankfully, he was able to get redemption the play later going in for the touchdown. People are saying, why didn't it flat the 1? I was like, just let the man score, okay? Honestly, the offense needed it because they played like garbage after the first opening drive of the game. So I didn't mind him running in the end zone for the touchdown. So you have to give credit to the Giants' defensive line. They made life for Joe Burrow and that offensive line just a nightmare. Dexter Lawrence had a sack. Brian Burns had a sack. Azeez Olajari had 2 sacks. Giants' defensive line was well advertised, and they're really good. Like you said, they don't really have like awesome corners, but that defensive line is really good. Joe was getting hit. He was getting pressured. He was getting hurried. As he said in his post-game news conference, he was having a little happy feet in the first half. I mean, I don't blame you because you were just getting like every time the Giants' defensive line was winning against the Bengals' offensive line. So obviously, he couldn't really get the ball out too. He was just like, usually Joe Burrow is so good at getting the ball out quickly, but he was just like, fuck, I'm just getting pressured all the time. And there was a play in the fourth quarter where Joe got thrown, he got hit, and his head went whoosh, land in the ground. And when I saw that, I was like, oh boy. And he tried to get up, and I was like, this man could be concussed. And he went in the medical tent. Thankfully, he was fine. He said he got the wind knocked out of him. I'm just going to be eyeing that throughout the week in practice. I know the Bengals are going to be like, okay, we just want to make sure you're good because that was not pretty. Because when the quarterback lands on the ground and his helmet goes like a whiplash to the head, that's always the sign of concussion. So I'm glad Joe was able to come back out in the football game. But when he got up, he was just like, oh, shit. You got the wind knocked out of him. But I was like, kind of looked like he was like low-key for a second. He was like concussed. But I'm not a medical doctor. But overall, Joe was 19 for 28 for 208. He led the team in rushing with 55 yards. That's not a good sign if your quarterback is leading the team in rushing. Chase Brown had 10 carries for 53 yards and a touchdown. Zach Moss only had 6 carries for 13 yards and a fumble loss. Listen, I like Zach Moss. I really do. I think he needs to continue to get his carries. However, I think Chase Brown needs to get majority of the snaps and the carries because he is that good. And there's a stat before the Monday Night Football game that I sent to you on Monday. So, per yards per carry, Chase Brown is third at 5.5. He's only third to Derrick Henry and J.K. Dobbins. That's a good company to be in. And then he has a Pro Football Focus run grade of 78.1, second to Derrick Henry. And there's some Bengals fans out there that are saying, whoa, look at Joe Mixon doing well in Houston. And I'm like, guys, I'm happy that Mixon is succeeding in Houston. The scheme that the Texans have for him and the run blocking scheme for him, it's working. I think the Bengals are doing a good job with Chase Brown and Zach Moss. Can we say that both sides won in that deal and quit saying, "Oh, Joe, we miss you," and quit going as mentions, "We miss you, man. He's with Houston now." Okay, stop it. I don't. It's not I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I'm not a Texans fan. We're Bengals fans. We need to be supporting Chase Brown and Zach Moss, even though he fumbled it. But Zach Moss is still a decent player. Anyways, stop it. Leave Joe Mixon alone. He did his time here. It was great. Yes, I wish he was here. However, I am supporting Chase Brown to get majority of the carries from here on out. Dude, I'm going to miss T. Higgins, man. I'm going to miss T. There's my T jersey. I thought I had my... Where the fuck? Give me a second. No, I can't find it. Anyways, like we said before the season and during training camp, T. Higgins had one hell of a training camp. He's determined. This is his contract year. But we're going to see how life without T. Higgins next year is going to be. And I'm not going to like it. In this football game, he has 7 catches for 77 yards, 7 targets. Every time T makes a catch, it's like this man is like catching the ball with his like tip hands like this. And it's just like, it's like easy. It's making the difficult catches look easy. And I'm like, bro, how's that ball not getting like batted out of hands by the defender? It's just like, well, T. Higgins with the catch. And it's like, damn, you actually caught that. It's like, man, he's playing. He's really good when he's on and healthy. Like he's making a difference for this offense. That's why this offense is like gelling. Even though they only scored 17 points in this football game, he is still making the offense and making life for Jamar Chase really easy. Now, Jamar Chase, he was getting bracketed in this football game. We knew the Giants were going to have like 2 defenders on him, but 5 catches, 72 yards. Pretty much majority of those yards came in that Bengals drive that unfortunately ended in the field goal because it was a play where Joe found Jamar for 33 yards and Joe had to do his magic. And then he like went backwards scrambling and then he found Jamar and it was just like, okay, Joe to Jamar, just Houdini shit right there. But the offense, it's not going to put up 30 points every game, guys. Okay. Obviously I want them to score like at least 20 plus points in this football game, but I'm just glad that they were able to get some couple of good drives in the second half. But you won't see this performance again during the season. I hope not, because I know we're playing a team coming up that for some reason this offense looks like the Mason Comets offense. So I really hope that we won't see that performance the Bengals did on Sunday Night Football against Cleveland or any other team for the rest of the season. And if you look at the Pro Football Focus offensive grades, Joe was number 2. He was the highest graded player on the team at 82.3. T. Higgins was number 3 at 81.4. Jamar Chase was number 5 at 71.1. So if I had to give a grade for the offense in this football game, D. It's just they had moments. There was clips I saw in all 22 was like, okay, that's a good throw by Joe, good run by Chase, but overall it just felt like it was just like they were just not good. And once they weren't prepared, you got to give the Giants credit, but it all comes back to coaching. But we're not going to talk about Zach Taylor. We're not going to talk about Zach. What do you got, man?
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. So there's a lot of points that you said that I completely agree with. So I won't go too much into a lot of these that we were just talking about. But we were just talking last week or the week before where I was like, man, Orlando Brown, Cordell Volson, all these guys are playing so well on the offensive line. I was like, we might have a couple Pro Bowlers this year, how these guys are playing, top 5, top 10 in different categories. And then it looked like everybody, all five of them, just completely forgot that they were not even how to block, that they were supposed to block. There were times where like Dexter Lawrence or Brian Burns or Azeez Ojulari would like literally be through the line before like getting touched at all. And I mean, they have good defensive linemen, so I can't blame us for struggling more against them than some of the other teams. But the hell are we going to do against Myles Garrett? And there's got and TJ Watt that we still had to play 4 times between the two of those guys alone. And there's we need to be able to block not just the terrible defensive lines. Like, yes, you have to play well against the bad defensive lines. You have to show that you can shut them down and that you are the better team in the trenches from the offensive line perspective against a lot of these teams. But you also have to show up a little bit against the teams that are good at rushing the quarterback. And I just feel like we completely dropped the ball on that. And I am not saying that all these guys are scrubs now or anything like that. I think that they'll figure it out and continue to block for Joe Burrow as well as they have so far for most of this season. But this was just a bad game for them all around. And you mentioned, we talked about this last week. We've been saying this for a few weeks now that Chase Brown needs to be getting more carries than Zach Moss. They finally listened to us, and he showed us why that's such a good idea. 5.5 yards per carry is actually insane. Like, that's so good to only be behind Derrick Henry and J.K. Dobbins and to only be behind Derrick Henry in rush grade in the NFL. You should be getting 80% of the snaps even. And I like Zach Moss too. But the stats, the stats don't lie in the sense that they have pretty close to the same amount of carries. Zach Moss actually has a few more carries, but they have more or less the same amount of carries this year. And Chase Brown is averaging 2 yards per carry more than Zach Moss. And he's just so much more explosive. People are saying, like you said, the people that are talking about Joe Mixon, I feel like it was good for both teams that we did that. I think Joe Mixon did a lot for this team, was very, very good for us for a long time. But also, I feel like he was starting to miss a step a little bit. And I felt like we were ready to turn the page on to Chase Brown a little bit more. And we brought in Zach Moss for extra support there. But Chase Brown needs to be the feature back. Averaging 5 yards a carry is incredibly good, and we can use Zach Moss in different scenarios than we might use Chase Brown, but I like that we started to feature him a little bit more in this one, and I hope that we continue to do that. Same thing as you, where I don't know why when we were on like either our own 45 or the 50, why the Giants would blitz on 3rd and 18 and have no safety even on the television screen when Joe Burrow started to take off. So that decision making is beyond me. But despite that, major props to Joe for recognizing that that was going to be the situation that he was gifted, and to immediately not even think about it. Just, I'm taking off on this. I can get there. They're all going away. I feel like every primetime game we're on now, they always talk about how good Joe Burrow is at diagnosing things before the snap. And part of that has been forced upon him in most of his career. Our offensive line hasn't given him more than like a second and a half to make any decisions before he's on the ground. And so you learn to figure out doing things before you even snap the ball. So that way you just have a quick, 1 or 2 thing that you're looking at. And then he's really evasive. I feel like he does not get enough credit for that. I know that, it's not like people are saying that he sucks at it and he's nowhere near the top 5, but people talk about, Mahomes getting out of the pocket and scrambling and running around and getting out of sacks. But I feel like Joe Burrow does it as well as anybody in the NFL outside of guys like Lamar who just do it like from pure athleticism. But Joe is like just good at getting out of bad situations, and that, roll out to the left, going like at an awkward angle, to seal the game with Yoshivas. It's just like, that's just good stuff. And even when we're not playing super well, I know that we'll continue to get better from the offensive side and start to look more like, not that I think we're going to score 35 every game, but, the mid to high 20s as an average wouldn't shock me, just because I feel like Joe Burrow has such a good command of this offense. And so when we're calling the right plays and not shooting ourselves in the foot, this is a really good offense and led by one of the most competent quarterbacks in the league. And I'm just excited we have him on our team. And I sure hope he stays healthy for as long as possible. The last thing I'll say about the offense, and this is tangentially the offense, is just that I've said this every day. I will continue to say it every day until I die if I have to. But wins are not a quarterback stat. I'm so tired of this bullshit of Mahomes being 5-0, even though he's playing the same stats as Daniel Jones so far this year. And he has like a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And then Joe Burrow has a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio and has a much worse record because of the defense, or just because of, not coaching well and not being cohesive as a team. But like, this was a team win. Our defense probably won this one more than the offense for sure, only allowing 7 points, not making them put up too many points to win this game. But we have to stop giving wins to quarterbacks. If you want to give Super Bowl wins to quarterbacks, fine for legacy perspective. But I'm so tired of this crap because it's just, it's not fair to just say that no one else on the team had any impact in these wins. And the quarterbacks are the only ones that are held to that standard. And they're leaders. I get it. I think a lot of times you can point to a quarterback being the reason they won or lost a game a lot of the times, because they have the most influence of any one player on a team. But it boils my blood sometimes. And I know this is kind of a philosophy difference that we have, but I actually was not that upset that Zach Taylor decided to run the ball twice and then throw on third down. I'm okay with him getting rid of the clock, but then on the most important down, which is third down, not running it. If he ran it on third down also, I would have been very pissed. I don't want to run just 3 times. If I had it my way, I would have ran the ball once and then threw twice for 3 downs. That would have been my preferred split. But making them use their timeouts, like, having the confidence in how your defense has played throughout the day, that if Daniel Jones has no timeouts and not that much time, that he's not going to go run down the field and get a touchdown. So again, that's just kind of like a debate. You could go lots of ways with that. I'm all good with trusting Joe Burrow, but I also like us to kill some of the clock and make them use their timeouts the easiest way, which is just to run the ball a couple times. But also, I don't want to constantly be in these scenarios where we're having to decide if we're going to run or pass. Like, we need to try to seal these games a little bit further out.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you're not wrong. Your opinion is completely valid. I understand where you're coming from. I hate seeing a team have timeouts left going with a drive.
I think Zach has every right to be confident because his defense has been playing well all night. However, Giants, I felt like the Giants offense could have went down the field and get a field goal or get the winning touchdown. Not that I'm saying the defense could have not stopped them. I feel like they could have, but you just never know. Because they had drives in this football game where they had long drives. They had a touchdown drive. They had the Slayton long pass play that got nullified because of an ineligible receiver down the field or lineman. So I just wish that it's like, okay, the first call for run play, sure, go ahead. But I just didn't like the second one because it went for no yards, or actually went for -2. And I'm just like,
yeah,
okay, 3rd and 12. So you need Joe to bail you out once again. I just don't want that to be a repetitive thing, but it's been like that for the last.
I am with you on that.
Yeah, it's been like that for the last 5 years. Damn. Okay, let's switch over to the Bengals' next opponent, the Cleveland Browns. Sunday, 1:00 on CBS. Listen, the Browns aren't good. They're 1-5. The offense is bad. Sean Watson's a piece of shit. It's bad. Nick Chubb is returning, making his season debut. Of course, it's against the Bengals. Of course, it's against a team that Nick Chubb has had plenty of success running the football in his career. And also, I know the Bengals defense played well on Sunday Night Football, but remember, Bengals run defense is still not good. They still allowed 100 yards total to the Giants, over 100 yards, but Giants had to work for those yards. So you can credit the defense for actually not making it easy for Tracy Jr. and Daniel Jones, who led the team in rushing. And who would have thought that both quarterbacks led the team in rushing for their respective teams? It makes no sense. The NFL is weird sometimes. But everything I said about the Browns, yes, they're a bad football team. The Bengals are -6.5, which is absolutely ridiculous. Deshaun Watson, 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's thrown for 1,020 yards. At one point, this man was 0 for 25 in third down conversions. He finally got one conversion against the Eagles last week. Jerome Ford, 264 rushing yards and a touchdown. I put Amari Cooper, but he got traded today to the Buffalo Bills. So who the hell the Browns have? Is Njoku healthy? I don't know. He's been injury list over the last couple of weeks. Honestly, who
They do have Jerry Jeudy.
Jerry Jeudy, okay. Jerry Jeudy. Well, now Watson's going to be targeting Jerry Jeudy a lot. So good for Amari Cooper. He need to get out of that shit show in Cleveland. Like I said, Nick Chubb is back, but the defense is still good. They've given up, not given up, 15 sacks so far on the season. Myles Garrett, who always terrorized the Bengals offensive line, has 4 sacks so far this year. Zadarius Smith has 3 sacks. And then the cornerback room, we have Greg Newsome, him and Jamar Chase. I love those matchups because them two motherfuckers always trash talk all the time. You got Denzel Ward, who he's still playing, even though Mans has like 7 concussions in his NFL career. He should just give it up because, man, one more concussion, he's on that Tua level pretty much.
Yeah.
Bengals haven't won in Cleveland since 2017. It's been 7 years.
That's so amazing.
Right. Before 2017, the Bengals, every time the Bengals played the Browns, that's like an easy victory. Even in the Andy Dalton era, I knew coming into the season, oh yeah, we're sweeping the Cleveland Browns easily. Now, with Joe Burrow, it's harder to beat the Browns. Like, I don't get it. I just think the Browns they get up for the Bengals. It's the Battle of Ohio. I really don't call it a rivalry, but you can call it a rivalry. I don't care what you guys call it. And I feel like this is the Browns Super Bowl because Browns fans on Twitter, they talk so much shit to Bengals fans. And I'm like, you guys still haven't won a division title. So why are you guys talking shit? And they be saying, well, you guys haven't won a Super Bowl. I'm like, we've been to a previous, more recent Super Bowl than you guys ever have. So I don't know why. So every time the Bengals and Browns are playing each other, it just feels like social media just goes into like just World War III of both fan bases. And I'm telling myself, Bengals fans, stop trying to entertain the Browns fans. They need something to cheer in Cleveland. I know the Guardians are in the AL Championship Series against the Yankees, even though they got their asses kicked in Game 1. Whatever, they need something to cheer in Cleveland, okay? There's really nothing going on in that third world country. But, with that being said, this game, it screams like the Giants game. But I think that the Browns have more weapons on offense than the Giants. That's not really saying that because Malik Neighbors and Singletary didn't play. Now Amari Cooper's not playing. They still got. I like Jerome Ford. I feel like the Browns are disrespecting Jerome Ford. I know he went to UC, and that's my boy, but he needs to get more carries. And Nick Chubb is back too. Njoku's a good tight end. I don't know about their offensive line. Apparently, the offensive line's just been hurt this year. It's a good time for the Bengals defensive line to get to the quarterback, just meaning Trey Hendrickson. So, in this football game, you need to start fast on offense because every time the Bengals play the Browns are always behind. And I just know every time the Browns get a touchdown, it's like the game is over because now the Browns defensive line's like, oh, we got this in the bag. And I've noticed that it's been a trend. Cleveland gets up in this football game. I'm nervous and I'm afraid we might lose. It's just because Myles Garrett just He just takes over a football game against the Bengals. And also, Zaire Smith does that too. That's a guy watch for too. I know we talk about Miles Garrett, but Zaire Smith he's a big MF, but he's a really good football player. So you can't give the Browns the lead right away. You have to start fast on offense. I think turnovers is going to decide this football game because Deshaun Watson, he stinks. So he's gonna lend you an interception. I think that's going to happen, or he might fumble the football. So you need to capitalize on those turnovers. And I just have this feeling that the Bengals defense needs to come up again for the second straight week. I'm not saying the offense isn't capable of scoring over 20 points, but the Browns defense still has good players in their unit. And I think this is going to be a game where I don't think the defense is going to allow 7 points, but I can see them holding this Browns offense to like under 20 points. I don't think Nick Chubb is going to get a bunch of the load on Sunday, just because he's coming back from his injury. I just think that they're gonna just I think they're just gonna just ease his way, ease Chubb's way back into the game. So I think Jerome Ford will get, I won't say majority of carries, but I think Chubb will get carries, but I think Jerome Ford will be like the top carrier. Who knows? Kevin Stefanski said that Deshaun Watson still gives the team the best chance to win. I'm like, homie, you don't believe that. Yeah, come on, you don't believe that. Like, I think Jameis Winston gives the Browns a better shot to win this football game, but it's gonna be tough. You gotta make life uncomfortable for Watson. I mean, he does it with women when it comes to massages, so you gotta make him just let him throw shitty throws, and he's gonna give you. I think Watson's gonna have like 2 picks in this football game, and I do have a parlay for this game. Bet the under. Okay, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of points in this game. Watson over a half, 0.5 interceptions. That's gonna happen. McPherson over 1.5 field goals, and then Chase Brown anytime touchdown. That's my bet for the parlay for this football game. I just think it's gonna be a low-scoring, physical, nasty AFC North type of game between like the 2017 type of score, or it could be 17-14. It's going to be ugly. I don't care. If the Bengals can win this game ugly against the AFC North team, I'm with it, because this Browns defense is still good. The offense, I swear, the Browns offense gets rid of in this football game, I might lose it. I really will lose it. But it's not going to be easy. No, there won't be no prediction. I did that against the Giants last week, and the Bengals won, so I'm not going to do that. But it's not going to be easy. And I can't believe the Bengals are 6.5 point favorites. It's crazy. It should be a pick'em. It should be a pick'em. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We know how we've played against the Browns the last several years. Since 2017, you said, is the last time we won in Cleveland. I'm sure that it's going to look the same until they prove me otherwise. I feel like I know how these games are going to look, unfortunately. I hope that they can prove me wrong, but I don't have a lot of confidence that we're going to do that. For whatever reason, the Browns just know how to dial up exactly what rattles us, and then we can't get anything going on offense. And it's just a lot to handle and to try to get out of that rut. So I agree. I hope we can find some way to get hot early on offense, because they're going to make adjustments too. And if we don't have, 10 to 15 points in the bank going into halftime, it's going to be harder and harder to score later on. And so I feel like we need to front load it as much as humanly possible before they are able to start making those adjustments. I know Nick Chubb's back. I'm sure he'll be on a pitch count. I really doubt they're going to give him more than 10 carries in this game, to be honest. I know they're letting him come back, but I don't think they're going to use him a whole lot, because if they have any semblance of hope for themselves for the rest of this year to actually play well, and I can't imagine they really do, but they're telling people that they think that they're still a potential playoff team. They're going to want him for that stuff. I don't think that they're going to be even close to that personally, but maybe if they make a quarterback change, it shifts the momentum. Who knows? But I think that he's going to be, 5 to 10 carries, and I still think he could get 5 yards per carry against us. And so I don't think he'll wreak too much havoc against us, but he could still get 5 yards a carry on 7 carries, and that's 35 yards right there, which definitely helps move the chains for them for a little bit. And Deshaun Watson is just straight up ass. And So much so that Stephen A. Smith on live television said that he would condone Deshaun Watson being arrested for how bad he is at football. And I'm sure that he'll look better against us than he has in recent weeks. I hope that that's not true, but we haven't really been able to put two defensive games in a row yet together. So maybe this is the start of something new, but again, not banking on that one to happen. So I have a feeling we're going to give up a little bit more to him. I hope that we can at least go with your plan, get one, get two picks, force these turnovers, flip the field that way, keep them off the scoreboard by forcing these turnovers, especially in the red zone, which is where we tend to do this. And we just have to find some way to have a consistent game where we look decent or above decent, ideally, on both sides of the ball, so that one side doesn't have to bail out the other side, and just cohesion, consistency, where both sides are playing really well together, a full team game. McPherson's making field goals. We're getting to, a couple touchdowns. It's still the Browns defense. So I don't think we're going to put up 30 by any means, but, two touchdowns on offense, maybe 3 field goals, and that's over 20, which I think will hopefully be enough to win this game. And just, we need a division win. We need a confidence booster again after an ugly win. We need to find a way to beat the freaking Browns at home for them. And I'd love to get a division win. I think again, same kind of logic as last week. We need to, it's frustrating to watch sometimes this team because of it, the wins all feel like ugly wins. And I just want a clean win, but I'll take the ugly win as long as it's a win. We just need to find a way to get it. And I don't know what needs to get sparked in the locker room, but the offensive line has to show up. They did not show up at all against New York, and Myles Garrett, Darius Smith, they usually dial up some pressures from corners and safeties too every once in a while that can cause a lot of chaos. And we need to find a way to let Joe Burrow actually make some choices here without immediately getting threatened on what felt like every other pass play. And you're right, Denzel Ward for a few years, if you take away the injuries, was probably one of the best corners in the league. Yeah. And I feel like the injuries kind of messed him up. He's not the player now he used to be. He's still good, but he's not. I would still, assuming, he guards either Jamar or T, I'm taking our guys over him every day of the week. So I like those matchups. I think it'll be fun, like you said, with Jamar Chase and Greg Newsome, but just find a way to win the dang game. I really I get so annoyed when we keep losing these Browns teams.
I just... So Joe didn't play... Did he play against Cleveland last year?
Wait. Game 1 when it was in the rain and he threw for 12 yards.
Oh, which I don't know why. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I remember that football game where he was still injured from his calf. The first play, he throws the ball and gets absolutely shellacked by Darius Smith. And I was like, this is how it's going to be all football game. I just knew it. I was like, I knew it. And then Bengals only had 3 points and Joe had under 90 yards. I know it's raining, but Deshaun Watson didn't play that well too, but he was able to make some plays. I don't know what has to change for the Bengals to beat the Browns. I really don't know. I think this is probably the Bengals' best shot to beat Cleveland this year. You just got to get it done. And I'm with you. It just... If I see the offensive line in the series against the Browns with Joe being here, they haven't really fared well, especially over the last 2 seasons. If the Bengals say we're going to get the ball to begin the game. If I see Joe on his back at least twice in the opening drive, I might lose it. I might lose. I'd be like, all right, this is going to be just like deja vu all over again. Myles Garrett probably going to have 2.5 sacks. We're going to be yelling at Cordell Volson. It's just going to be a great time. And I don't want that. Cordell Bolson's actually having not a bad year. Hey, he tries hard, okay? He's actually playing well this year. I think some Bengals fans are like, well, Cordell didn't play. No one played well against the Giants, okay? No one did. Even Atlanta Brown Jr. get up a sack. And he got by Brian Burns, just like destroyed him. So it's like, hopefully everyone shows up. I want a complete game. I don't think it's going to happen against Cleveland. It's just get the W. That's all I care. Before we go to your trivia, it was announced today that the Bengals and Eagles game on the 27th of this month is now. It was a 4:25 game. Now it's a 1 o'clock game. And the Bears and Commanders game is the 4:25 game because now Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, their stock is rising. Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts' stock is a little going down. Well, Burrow's up. Hurts is way down. So the NFL is like, now we're going to put Daniels and Williams in the primetime spot or the late window spot, which is, hey, that's going to be a good football.
Oh, yeah. Number 1 versus number 2 pick. They're both balling out. Like, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, both teams is 4-2. That's going to be one hell of a football game. I'm actually looking forward to watching that. And boy, it's probably going to be Nancy Romo. So I guarantee Tony Romo's going to be like, oh, man, look at Caleb Williams. Look at Jaden Daniels. Little Mahomie. I swear. He's going to say that in that podcast. And I'm going to mute that game, bro. Because you know he will. He's gonna compare those two to probably Patrick Mahomes and say Mahomes. Oh God, it's just.
I wish you could bet on that. Over under how many times do we mention Mahomes in a game?
Yeah, the Bears can. I will say probably over 5 times. It's gonna happen. All right, man. Trivia before we get out of here on this late Tuesday night.
All right, so you may know this one actually, but we'll give. So, of the best point differentials in the entire NFL, the best 4 teams in the NFL in point differential are all in the exact same division. Do you know what division it is?
Oh, it's NFC North.
Crazy.
That is
the best 4 point differentials in the entire league are the same division.
Wow,
and they're all 4-2 or better.
Yeah, the Vikings are undefeated. They're 5-0, and they had a bye. That's man.
That whole division could get in the playoffs. The only caveat with that is, so far of all 4 of those teams, only one division game has been played. The Vikings and Packers played each other once. No one else has played each other yet. So like that'll even out a little bit once they start playing each other. But really solid division so far. Okay, so. This one, so Joe Burrow, still at his 12-2 touchdown to interceptions, which means he has a 6-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Unreal.
That's great.
There are 2 quarterbacks in the NFL that are better than a 6-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Can you name either or both of them? I'll give you like 2 strikes too, in case you want to.
Is Sam Darnold one of them?
He's not. He's thrown. He's playing pretty well, but he has thrown like 4 picks, I think.
Jordan Love. Damn, Jordan Love does touchdown passes all the time.
One of them you may not have noticed is playing like as well as this, and then one is kind of a random one.
Oh man.
They're both AFC.
Okay, AFC. It's definitely not the Titans and Will Levis. It's definitely not the
Meme Machine.
Meme Machine. God, Will Levis cracks me up. Freaking took out the ball boy, tore his fucking ACL. Not the Dolphins. Obviously, they're whack. Ain't no Justin. Oh, Lamar Jackson. No.
Lamar's at a I think Lamar's either a 5-1 or a 6-1, so he's close, but not quite better.
Okay, it's not Mahomes. Oh man, Josh Allen.
Yeah. Do you know Josh Allen has not thrown a single pick yet this year?
Oh, really?
For all the shit that people give him about being a turnover machine, He has 10 touchdowns and 0 picks.
Good for him. He got Amari Cooper today. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
He needed that.
So good for him. And then the other one is kind of random. But they have a 7-1. I think it's literally 7 touchdowns and 1 pick.
Wow. This screams Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is like 5-1 actually, so he's playing well, but not quite. It's not a starter, or it was not a starter at the beginning of the year.
Oh, Flacco.
Yeah, 7-1 for Joe Flacco.
The Browns must feel really stupid for letting Flacco go. You should have kept him.
I bet they love to have him right now.
Oh, absolutely. I'm more terrified of Joe Flacco than Deshaun Watson. Like, what? Like, man.
I mean,
Flacco.
I feel like, to be honest, with Deshaun, the last thing about the Browns is like Jameis Winston, he might throw 2 or 3 picks, but he's also going to throw 2 or 3 touchdowns. Like, I feel like that would just be. I would be putting Jameis Winston in at this point. I feel like they are just feel too handcuffed by the insane price tag that involves just sitting on the bench, getting paid to do jack shit. But like, if you actually care about winning football games, you cannot reasonably keep him in these games for much longer.
Facts. Yep. That's what you get for signing him that big ass contract. That's on the Browns. John Watson don't care about the team. He just care about getting his money. Can't blame him because he's still a POS. But sheesh. All right, man. As always, guys, Instant Reaction Podcast after every Bengals game. Hopefully, I get to do finally Instant Reaction Podcast where I talk about the Bengals beating the Browns, because I know last year we beat the Browns in the last game of the year, but I don't really count that because the Browns were resting their starters for their wildcard game, which they got their ass kicked by Houston. I want to do an Instant Reaction Podcast where I can like be happy that the Bengals beat the Browns, in the regular season with all their players and starters out there. So I'm hoping for that. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. And they gotta win. They gotta win. You can't be 2-5 and then 0-2 in the division. It's like, what are we doing? Like, come on now. I'm not gonna go off, but I'm gonna be like, really, guys? This how the season's going to end? Really? Because 3-4 sounds a whole lot better than 2-5. And I know people are saying, "Oh, the schedule is easy. We beat the Giants. That's the first win. Now we got to beat the Browns, which is going to be an easy win." I'm like, easy win? Okay.
Those don't exist for us anymore.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, sir. You got anything else to say before we get out of here?
Hope we win.
God, I hope we win too. Guys, we're out. Who Dey forever, and hopefully we get win number 3. If we don't, then I guess we're on the college basketball season. But we love you guys. All right, Tommy, we're out.
Catch you later.